everybody, welcome back to Crochet by Landry. In this video, since back to school has started and most of our kids, if not all of them, have already gone back to school, so I thought it would be fun as an end of the week treat for our little ones who have started school this year to make them a little friend they can cuddle with over the weekend. And I thought it would be fun to make Ruby Rabbit here. So if you want the pattern, I'll put the link down below in the description box so you can follow along with me. And grab your Bernat blanket yarn and your 8mm crochet hook, and let's get started making Ruby Rabbit. Okay, let's get started making our next tutorial this week, and it will be Ruby Rabbit, the crochet toy. And the stuff you're going to need is, of course, the yarn, and I'm going to be using Bernat blanket in a blue color, but you can probably use any color you want for your rabbit. It's totally up to you. You're going to need your hook, which is I'm using as an 8mm hook. I'm going to use some scissors, a yarn needle with a big enough eye to feed the yarn through because the yarn we're using is a little bit thicker, a stitch marker or a paper clip or a safety pin to keep track of your rows. I'm going to use a little bit of black yarn for the nose because I don't have a nose big enough, so I'm just going to change and use some black yarn that I just have lying around. And then you're going to need some eyes. Now you're going to need eyes that are about 2 centimeters big. You could go a bit bigger if you wish, but I'm going to use these ones are 2 centimeters. I don't have straight black ones, so I'm just going to use these ones for now. And of course the backings to snap the eyes in place. And then of course the pattern if you're going to follow along with me. And I'm gonna put a link down below in the description box so you can follow along with me. And you'll need some stuffing as well to stuff your friend when he's finished. But once you've got your materials, let's get started making Ruby Rabbit. Okay, so let's get started making Ruby Rabbit's body. And I believe it's gonna be one piece, so this will be relatively simple. Now to get started making your ring, you're gonna start with a slip knot. And then you're going to go and chain 2. 1, 2. And then you're going to want to put 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook, which is going to be where not where your first one is coming out of, but the second one. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see. So it might be a little tricky, but it's going to be right here, right after this bump right here. Okay, you're just going to put your hook in there and you're going to make 6 single crochets to get started. So that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And what you're going to do is you can put the stitch marker either on the last stitch you made or the first one that you made. For now, I'm just going to put it on that first one I made, but I'm going to do it on the second, after we're done the second row. So what we're going to do is we're going to do, in the next round, we're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around, going from 6 to 12. Now, if you have a problem finding your stitch or your first single crochet, what you can do is you can count backwards from where your hook is. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is right here. That's a little trick so you can keep track of where you started. Now that's my first single crochet of round 2, and I'm going to put a stitch marker right there so I know where I started and where I have to finish. And then I'm just going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, like I said, going from 6 to 12. It's really simple. Just take your time. If you're having difficulty seeing the stitches, you can probably try to feel for them as well. You may need 2 balls of this yarn. It all depends on your tension. So that's the end of round 2, and I'm going to remove my stitch marker and I'll put it back in when I start round 3. And round 3 is going to be 1 single crochet in the first stitch. And don't forget, put our stitch marker back where we started. And we're just going to keep working in continuous rounds. And then we're going to put 2 in the next one after that. So it's going to be 1 and then an increase. So here's 1, and then the next stitch you increase by putting 2 stitches in 1. Okay, and you're just going to keep going all the way around, going from 12 to 18. And once you get back to the beginning, I'll meet you there and we will move on together. So we're going to get ready to round 4. I'm just going to remove my stitch marker. And what you're going to do now is you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first one and replace your stitch marker. And then 1 single crochet in the next one. And then an increase in the third. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and then increase. And you're just going to keep doing this all the way around till you get back to the beginning. And once you get back to the beginning, I'll meet you there, and you should be at 24 stitches by the end of round 4. Okay, so that's the end of round 4. Let's move on to round 5. And round 5 is going to be 1 in each of the next 3. And replace your stitch marker either at the beginning or place it in the last stitch you do. Either one works for you. Whatever works for you is best. So then that's 1. So do 1 more and then another one. So 1 single crochet in the next 3, and then in the 4th stitch you increase. Okay, so then it's 1, 2, 3, and increase. Okay, and just keep going. Do that all the way around. And once you get back to the beginning, you should be at 30 stitches by the end of round 5. That's the end of round 5, and you should be at 30 stitches. Now let's move on to round 6. So for round 6, it's 1 in the first stitch. Again, place your stitch marker so you know where you started or where you ended. And then 1 in the next, then 1 in the third, and then 1 in the 4th, and then increase in the 5th. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then in the 5th, you place 2. So finish round 6. You should have 36 stitches by the end, and I will meet you there and we'll move on to round 7 together. That was the end of round 6. You should have 36 stitches by the end of this round. Now let's move on to round 7. Round 7 is going to be, you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first 5 stitches. So that's 1. Put your stitch marker, and then it's 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase in the 6th. Okay, so then it's again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in the 6th you put 2. Now continue that all the way around, and by the end of round 7 you should have 42 single crochets. Once you're done round 7, I will meet up with you and we will move on to the next round together. So if you finish round 7, you should have 42 stitches by the end of it. Now we're going to be going for the next round is round 8, but from rounds 8 to 16, you're going to be putting just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So that's just rounds from 8 to 16. You're just going to be putting 1 stitch in each around. And when you're done, you should still be at 42 stitches. I'm going to throw you into a bit of a time lapse here, and then we'll come back at the end of round 16 and move on and continue our Ruby Rabbit. This is what your piece should look like after you're finished round 16. So now we're going to move on to round 17, and we're going to start decreasing the head a little bit. So what you're going to do now is you're going to put one in the first stitch, and again, place your stitch marker, one in the second, one in the third, one in the fourth, and one in the fifth, and then in the sixth and seventh stitch, you're going to do what's a single crochet, two together. So you're going to do a decrease stitch. So you're going to put your hook in the sixth, pull up a loop, don't finish that stitch, and then put your hook in the seventh stitch, pull up a loop again until you have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So you just made those 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then a decrease. Okay, and then you're going to repeat that all the way around, and you're going to drop down to 36 stitches, and I'll meet you at the beginning of round 18. Okay, so that's round 17. Let's move on to round 18, and we're going to keep on decreasing. So you're going to go 1 in the first, place your stitch marker, and on the last round you should have ended with a decrease, just so you know. Okay, and then that's 2, 3, and 4, and then in 5 and 6 you do a single crochet, 2 together. So that's the pattern, is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then decrease. Okay, and just continue that all the way around, and when you get to the end you should have 30 stitches by the end of round 18, and once you're done I will meet up with you and we will move on together. So at the end of round 18 you should have 30 stitches now, and now what we're going to do is from rounds 19 to 23 you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 4 rounds. Once you hit round 23, I will meet up with you and we will move on. Okay, so that was the end of round 23. So let's move on to round 24. So we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And again, don't forget to place your stitch marker so we keep track of where we're ending and starting. And that's 1, and then we're going to 2, 3, and 4. Now, instead of decreasing, we're going to increase. So we're going to start making the body of our rabbit. So that means you're going to put 2 single crochets in the 5th. And then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then again, 2 in the 5th. Okay, and you're just going to increase all the way around, and you're going to be going back up to 36 stitches. Once you get to 36 and you're finished your round, I will meet you there and I will see you at the end of round 24. So for round 25, at the end of round 24, you should have 36 stitches. At the end of round 25, so for 25, you're going to be doing just 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, staying at 36 for now. So just 1 stitch in each, once around, and when you get back to the beginning I will meet up with you and we'll move on to the next round together. So for round 26 you're going to do 1 single crochet in the first. We're going to be increasing again because we're making the body. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase in the 6th. Okay, so that's the pattern for this round. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase. Okay, so do that all the way around, and by the end of round 26 you should have 42 stitches. When you're done round 26, I will meet up with you and we'll move on to round 27 together. Okay, so for round 27, what we're going to do is it's going to be 1 single crochet in that first one. Place your stitch marker. and then 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and 1 in the sixth, and then 2 in the seventh. Okay, so it's 1 single crochet in each of the next 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then increase 1, 2. So continue that all the way around, and I'll meet up with you at the end of round 27, and you should have 48 stitches. Okay, so for the next round, round 28, so from rounds 28 to 41, you're just gonna do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Nothing too fancy, just 1 stitch in each, all the way around from rounds 28 to 41. And once you get to round 41, we will begin decreasing our Ruby Rabbit. Okay, project's getting a little bit long here, so I'm going to do my best to make sure you can see. So now we're going to start round 42, and we're going to start decreasing. We will get into the eyes in a minute, or the facial features. So what we're going to do is 1 single crochet in the first. Again, place your stitch marker. And then it's going to be 1 in the next, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and 1 in the sixth. And then in 7 and 8, it's going to be a decrease row. It's going to be a single crochet, 2 together. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then a decrease. Okay, so you're going to repeat that all the way around, and you're going to go from 48 stitches to 42, and I'll meet you back up for round 43. So for round 43, we're going to do 1 in the first, okay, then it's going to be 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and then in 6 and 7, it's going to be a decrease. So that's the pattern for this round, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, decrease. Okay, so go around and do that round, and when you're done this round, it'll be 36 single crochets, and I'll meet up with you for round 44. Okay, so for round 44, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. And again, keep remembering to place your stitch marker so you can keep track of how many rows you have. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a decrease. So then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then decrease. So continue that all the way around, going from 36 stitches to 30, and I will meet you at the end of round 44, and I'll see you for round 45. So for round 45, it's going to be 1 single crochet in that first stitch. Add the stitch marker, and then 1 in the second, and 1 in the third. Okay, and then it's a decrease. Okay, so that's the pattern for this row, is 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. Okay, so finish up that row, and then I will meet you back for the next piece You should have 24 stitches by the end of row 45. So that was the end of round 45. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull up a loop, and I'm just going to flip my friend over here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put the eyes and put a nose on. Now for the nose, like I said, I'm going to use this because I don't have a safety eye nose. But for safety eyes, I will be using these ones. I don't have straight black, so I'll just have to use what I have. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and put the eyes in the specific spot in the middle of the head. Okay, so let's see. Now you may need to stick your hand up on the inside just so you can get the eye placing correct. But I'm going to try and do it as centered as I can. Let's see here. So what you want to do is put one eye in, and then when you're putting them in, you're going to see that there's one little line here and there's another one just behind it. So you want to try and put the eye, if you're using big enough eyes, put it in between those two pieces of yarn, so there's more to grab onto for your eye, and your eye won't pop out when you're if your kid is playing with it or whatever. So I'm going to try and put his eye one, and I'm trying to make it look like the picture as best I can. I'm going to do my best. Okay, and then I'm going to count over a couple of stitches. Now make sure you leave enough space in between your eyes to put your nose in. I'm just going to stick my hand up inside here. There we go. Okay. And that's kind of, I think that's as close as I'm going to get for the center. Okay. And then what you want to do is take your backings and stick them inside and snap your eye into place. So what you want to do is make sure you snap them in as much as you can so they don't come loose on you. And you want to do both. So I'm just sticking my hand up inside the project and then putting on my backing and pushing down on the eye. So you hear that snap or you feel it. Okay, I'm just gonna remove the plastic here. That protects the eyes. There, my eyes are in. Now I'm gonna take a second and just sew my nose on. Again, I'm sewing my nose on because I don't have a safety eye nose. So I'm just gonna do my best to make a little nose as much as I can. And I'm gonna try and do it either in between the eyes or just below them. But you wanna put your nose in between the eyes. In between both eyes, just a little bit lower, just below them. Okay. If you have a safety eye nose, then just snap it into place if you have it in the right spot. If you're gonna stitch yours on like I am, just do your best. Okay, and then I'm gonna put the other side in this way, and I'm just gonna go back and forth a few times so it looks like a nose. And if you want to add any other facial features to your project, you can. If you're crafty like that. Okay, and I'm gonna go one more. But instead of coming out the other side, I'm just gonna pull. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tie off the ends on the inside. Just tie a knot, so that way nothing comes loose and nothing comes out. Less chance that the nose will come loose on me. And I'll just stick the ends inside. And there is the face to our Ruby Rabbit. Now let's move on to making his arms and his legs and his ears. So now that we have the face put in, we're gonna kind of change gears and we're gonna take a minute and start stuffing it. So the stuffing I'm gonna use is just polyester fiber fill. You can use anything you have, cut up old socks, old scraps of yarn, or you can use a combination of all those. But I'm just gonna start stuffing our friend here. Now you gotta make sure you get it all the way to the top of the head. Grabbing it in handfuls and just doing your best to get it in all of the nooks and crannies and inside the head and his neck and his tummy region, or her tummy region, I'm sorry. It is a girl, it's Ruby Rabbit. And who knows, maybe I'll bring her with me to the market this weekend that I have, and I can see if anybody likes it, and who knows, maybe they'll want me to make one for them. Or they just could comment and I can send them to the video. There we go. Okay, how does that head look? There we go. That's pretty good. I'm just gonna try and stick a little bit more up in the head, just because you gotta move it around a bit so it doesn't come out of the stitches, but it also gets in the little crevices as best as you can. Now, if your arm isn't long enough, you probably use like a stick or something long to help you get it up where it needs to go. Okay, I think I've almost reached my stopping point. I'm not going to stuff it too much. I'm just going to add stuffing as I go towards the end when we do our final decreasing rounds. So that way it's not too much of the stuffing isn't coming out while I'm trying to close it up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to finishing our decreases before we finish stuffing it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put one single crochet in the first and then add our stitch marker. Okay, and then one in our second. Okay, and that's going to be a little tricky because it's getting bigger now that it's been stuffed. And then we're going to single crochet two together. So we're going to decrease. Okay. Then we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So it's 1, 2, and then a decrease. So just going to repeat that all the way around, going down to 18 stitches. Once you've gone all the way around, I will meet up with you for round 47. Okay, so for round 47, what you're going to do is you're going to do one in the first, okay, and then a decrease. So that's the pattern. It's going to be one single crochet and then a decrease. There we go. So do that all the way around and you should get back to 12 stitches and I will meet you there. Okay, so for round 48, now that we've gotten down to 12 stitches, we're going to get down to 6 now. So, but before I do round 48, what I'm going to do is pull up on my loop and put my friend on the table here. And I'm actually just going to add a last little bit of stuffing around the bottom. That way it looks and it feels full. Because you want to make sure that you've added the right amount and it's not too squishy or in areas. See, that's why I want to make sure you move it around evenly as best you can. I'm just going to add a little bit more towards the bottom here. That way it's full enough. Okay, there we go. I think that's as good as it's gonna get. All right. So for this last round of decreases, all you're gonna do is just decreases. You're gonna do 6 single crochet 2 togethers. So, and you're just gonna do the single crochet 2 together, like I said, 6 times. So that's 1, 2. That's, oopsie. This is 3. And that's 4. That's 5. Okay. And one more. There we go. Now that you've done that, you can fasten off, and that just means pulling a tail long enough to sew the space, your space closed. Pull your tail all the way through. Thread your needle that has a big enough eye, and then what you're going to do is for the space here is you're just going to grab just the one part of the stitch. So just one piece of the top, the front loop or the back loop of the stitch. It's going to kind of create like a little drawstring effect so you can pull it closed and it doesn't look weird. Okay. Okay, like that. And now that I've got all the way around, I'm just going to gently pull that space closed. And then now that I'm done it, I'm just going to kind of go back and forth over the hole or back and forth through the project. That way I'm weaving in my end and also reinforcing where I finished. So that way nothing comes apart. There we go. And then any extra tail, you can either snip it or even stuff it in the project if you want. If I have anything sticking out, I'm just going to take the back end of my needle here and poke it inside. There we go. Okay, and then that's the body portion of our friend. But let's move on to the limbs, the hands and the feet, and the ears. All right, so to make the legs, you're going to make 4 of the same. So you're just going to make 4 identical pieces because it's going to be the arms and the legs for this project. So what you want to do is you're going to do a slip knot to begin and chain 2 like you did with your body of your bunny. So just chain 2 to get started. So that's 1 and 2. And then what you're going to do now is you're just going to put 6 single crochets in that second chain from your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more is 6. Okay, and then if you want to use a stitch marker, you can. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, going from 6 to 12. Okay, so that's 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8, 9, and 10, and then the last 2, which is 11 and 12. Okay. And then for round 3, what you're going to do is just 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, staying at 12. So just going to go all the way around 1 stitch, no extra stitches. Pretty simple. Making sure you have even tension as well is helpful, so you're not pulling too tight or being too loose. That way all your pieces match. Now for the next rounds, you're just going to repeat round 3 until your ear, or your arms and legs all reach about 9 inches or 23 centimeters if you're doing it in centimeters. So keep going with round 3 until you hit 23 centimeters or 9 inches, and I will meet up with you and we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, so my leg has reached about 9 inches, and you can use a measuring tape just to keep track of how far you are. I'm just going to take the stitch marker out. To finish off, I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then I'm just going to leave a bit of a tail to sew this on later. Pull my tail all the way through, and there you go. And you're going to make 3 more just like this. That way you have 2 for the arms and 2 for the legs. But for now, we're going to put these aside, and we're going to stuff them all later at towards the end when we start putting them together. I'm going to put this aside, and now we're going to start making the ears. So the ears are going to be starting with a chain of 2 and a slip knot, of course. So chain 2 to begin, 1, 2, and then it's going to be 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And now what you're going to do is just like before, you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around, going from 6 to 12. Okay. Then you're going to increase one more time by putting 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, that's 2, and then an increase in the third. 1, 2. And you're just going to do that again. 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So keep going all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning. Okay, so for round 4, what you're going to do is you're going to do a chain 1, and then all you're going to do is 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around till you get back to the beginning. Okay. So once you get back to the beginning, there we go. And now that you've got back to the beginning after the 4th round, what you're going to do is you're just going to keep going with round 4 and repeat it until your ear reaches about 9 inches, give or take. Once your ear reaches about 9 inches, then fasten off and we move on to sewing on our pieces. So just like the arms and legs, once you get your piece to 9 inches, this is what it should look like. So I'm just going to slip stitch into the next one to fasten off, and I'm going to leave a bit of a tail for sewing. Pull my tail all the way through. Okay, there we go. And now you should have 2 of these, 2 ears, as we are going to sew them together kind of like this onto the rabbit. But grab all your pieces and your stuffing and let's start stitching everything together. Okay, so once you've stuffed all 4 of your arms and legs, and don't stuff the ears because you're going to be folding them kind of in half. But once you've got all 4 of your arms and legs stuffed, we're going to sew them on. So I've got a 1 sewn on here, as you can see. So we're going to sew the other one on just across from it on the other side. And what you want to do is flatten out your edge, thread your needle, and you're going to do your best to try to make sure you're aiming for the same spot. I'm just going to go in and out of the body and then in and out of the arm itself, or leg, or wherever you're starting. Now, if you need to turn your project around or whatever, do so. Quite big, so making sure you're grabbing both sides of the arm and the project so it stays in one place. Okay, and then you want to kind of do this for all four of your all four pieces, your arms and your legs. And I'll show you in a second where you put the other leg, or where you put your legs for your rabbit. Okay, and then after you get just right across, you want to leave the arm a little floppy like this. I'm just kind of reinforcing the corner pieces just to make it a little bit more snug, so that don't go anywhere. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to thread the yarn in and out of the arm itself, and then trim the tail. And there you have one arm, and then you can sew on the other one, and then your bunny has two arms. Now you're going to put both of the legs down at the bottom, so across from each other, like so. Okay, and you're going to kind of do the same thing you did for the arm, except the leg will be a little bit easier because you're sewing it near. So you're sewing it near the bottom, doing your best to go through both pieces on the leg, as well as making it through the body, and trying to sew it as straight as you can. The pieces are stitched on well, so they don't slip off or fall off or end up getting pulled off. Okay, oh, there we go. I'm just gonna reinforce both sides. And then we'll move on to the ears. Okay, go. And then again, like I did for the arms, I'm just gonna weave the needle in and out, and then trim the tail. There we go. Okay, and then when you do the ears, what you want to do is you're going to have them, they're going to be flat like this. What you want to do is make sure your tail is in a corner, and then just fold over at least the top end, because you're going to be going through all four pieces, or all four sides, once you've folded over, because you'll notice that those 4 different spaces to go through. So what you want to do is you want to sew the ears on either side of the rabbit's head. Okay, and just doing your best to make sure that your tail is on the relatively right side. Okay, and then you want to make sure they're as even as you can get. Okay, there we go. And this one, you want to make sure that you're going through both pieces. So a little bit thicker to go through with the ears. Making sure you're taking your time. And again, you want to leave the ears a little floppy. This is a floppy-eared bunny. I suppose if you really wanted them to stick straight up, you could. Maybe sew some wire in or stuff them so they do stand straight up. but that is up to you guys. There we go. And then again, we're just going to try and reinforce a little bit. But I'm going to weave my tail in now. There we go. Trim my end. Put this away. And there we have it, our bunny friend. And that's it for today, everybody. We made Ruby Rabbit, our back to school friend. So don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and the notification bell, and I will see you next week for more crochet fun. Bye, everybody.